Hey everyone, it's Alicia too, and welcome back to NOFX Heavy Conversations. Today I'm joined by Stay Puft Mellow, Daniel Decay, and Tori Kravitz. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome.
Yo.
Doing good.
This
Now
is like episode 8 already. Is that
this
what's
is
happening?
8. This is 8. Yeah, I felt so strange labeling this Zoom meeting, thinking, "Wow, we've done 8 of these now. This is pretty awesome."
Yeah.
And we have Tori here for the first time, so hello, welcome.
I know this is my rite of passage. I'm like honored to be with you guys, the rock reporter legends.
Oh, we can't wait. Excited to have another person here in the mix. So let's just dive right in. We're going to kick things off with talking about NOFX, who are apparently going to be calling it quits in 2023 as per Fat Mike. So who's sad? Who's kind of indifferent on the topic? Who wants to know more? Let's start with you, Tori.
Sure. So here's my thing, right? I'm a big fan of conspiracy theories, and I would just like to note that there has been no official announcement from the band, only Fat Mike on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me wonders, like, was this just like a drunk rampage wanting attention? Like, is this actually going to happen? Or maybe I'm just a sad fan in denial. I don't know. But I do feel like if this is legitimately happening, I'm not trying to fuel the rumor mill. Better to go off in a blaze of glory with an amazing farewell tour where everyone can truly know that they're seeing the band for the last time, celebrate the legacy, and just give them the respect and love that they deserve, rather than like fizzling out in a little, like just slowly but surely and sadly. So, if it's gonna happen, I'm looking forward to this farewell tour so we can go out with a bang.
Right, potentially more details too, because I can already tell we're gonna get along great because I'm also super into conspiracy theories. And I was researching, I'm like, I haven't received a presser for this. I haven't seen any other members. I'm looking on their individual accounts and it was only said by him. So it also kind of maybe is alluding to, like you said, he just said something and is like, ah, shit, I got to delete this in the morning. I have no idea. But if that is the case, then at least they are going out with a bang. And that's kind of like that final hurrah that I would think everyone in a band would love to go out on. So speaking to that, let's throw to Decay, someone who obviously happens to do this for a living and then go on the road and experience all of this stuff. Seeing this, what were your thoughts and what was running through your mind if you were kind of in that position, seeing the tweet and everything?
I think it's interesting that we're all kind of acknowledging that it was a social media announcement, because even if you look at like all the outlets picked it up, it's like screen caps of everyone's, like, it's not even just like an Instagram post, it's like comments within, and then it looks like it's been confirmed by management. It looks like there's a comment that their manager made, and it looks like it's grabbed from a Discord server, not gonna lie. Like the screen cap, like it kind of looks like it was taken from Discord, but it's been confirmed by management. There's been no official like presser though, as you said. Yeah. I mean, they've been a band for 40 years. I think it's I'm like a little bit shocked because they seem like super active, and anytime I see them live, they seem super in it. Whatever project they're playing with, whatever version of NOFX you're seeing, or Fat Mike doing something else. So a little shocking. But it makes next year's shows that much more special for everybody. And don't rule out reunions. They're only in their mid 50s. And how this industry got 30 more years of touring left in them if they really want it. But yeah, I kind of like how casual it was. It's kind of interesting. Just like, hey, this is our last show in these cities. Like just on Instagram, like announcing your band breaking up after 40 years via like comments, and then he's responding to further comments. This is like. Like
but
such a chill way.
It kind of goes to that punk ethos though, where it's like, hey, if this is kind of how we've presented ourselves over the years and we're just going to be balls to the wall, why not just announce that we're splitting this way? Maybe there was actually a lot of thought that went to, or maybe there was none at all, and they just thought, hey, let's just say this very simply. But John, what are your thoughts on the matter?
Y'all have touched on most of them, like how Tori mentioned that there's been no official announcement or anything like that, and this could just change with the wind, considering that they're like, oh yeah, next year, just punt it to next year. Who knows? Things could change in 6 months. We don't know. But like DK said, they've been a band for 40 years. They've got nothing left to prove. They've done everything that I imagine that they want to do as a band. And Fat Mike is even starting hip hop projects and doing more new music and finding his new outlets and new things that he wants to do. And honestly, like the pandemic changed a lot of things for everyone, right? So maybe NOFX was rare and going and had another 20, 30 years in them. But then after the slowdown and sitting for a couple of years, maybe they want to do something else or don't want to do that hard to grind touring anymore. Because you think about the DIY tours that they were doing, in the 80s and early to mid 90s, they've done, you know, their 40 years, you could add like an extra 1.5 year like times years on that, because they've just gone harder than a lot of other bands do in their career. So if this is truly the end for NOFX, I hope that they go out on their terms, so that there is some official announcement, not just like things here and there on message boards or Discord servers or Instagram or anything like that. Because I think that they don't have anything left to prove, and that they want to go out on their own terms, then hell yeah, it has been a wild ride.
Absolutely.
To add to that, Stay Puft, you say like they've done everything and they went so hard. Like, remember in the 2000s, they did that like independent tour of all these like really remote, interesting countries, and they made like an MTV show out of it, that like No Passports or whatever show. And it's like, punk legends literally on a DIY tour, like all dudes in their 40s, and like, you know, they're dealing with promoters ripping them off and not having hotel rooms and shows getting canceled over security concerns. Like, this band has literally done everything from the top to the very bottom and everything in between. So it's like no stone left unturned in their career. It's you know, it's good to know when to fold them. That's a real thing.
Yeah. And also, to just jump on that real quick as well, like, for real, like, if anyone deserves to take a break, it's them. And also, I was thinking about, you know, a band ending on a strong note and ending on their own terms. And it's not a band, but I was thinking about how the Vans Warped Tour ended in that kind of fashion, where, you know, another punk staple, where rather than letting it fizzle out and just kind of die in a sad or dramatic way, they made sure that last year everybody could celebrate them and celebrate the tour, come out and just really appreciate it. And what's poetic about this is the literal last Vans Warped Tour show that ever happened, NOFX was closing. Just a little 2 cents I thought was
wrapping
cool.
it all together. Look at you. No, I love that. I think too, it's going to be interesting to see over the coming weeks, just if there is any announcement. Of course, if anything does drop, you already know that NOFX.com is your place to be for plenty more details on that, everybody. But now we're going to dive into our next topic, which is so exciting to see, because we are seeing heavy metal and rock music come so close and just so in front of everything right now when it comes to media, Netflix, huge shows. And of course, it was announced that Craig Reynolds will soon be on Seth Meyers, which is just massive. So seeing more of this crossover. Oh, and then Ozzy too being on this like football season kickoff NFL show is wild. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Let's start with Decay this time.
I mean, obviously having heavy metal in the forefront is good for everyone in this scene. I think it's really funny when people try and gatekeep like Metallica or Ozzy. Like, these are like our most mainstream outputs. Like, it's like, you're so, it's like stuff like Metallica and Ozzy's for everyone, man. Like, you know, my little sister, my grandma, and you know, everyone in between. There's like, you know, Ozzy did a song with Post Malone. Let's be real here. So it's like hilarious when people try and gatekeep that kind of stuff. But like overall for the whole scene, I think it's awesome. I think that we're seeing you know, a time where heavy metal and specifically like more riff-based music is starting to get a little more popular after the great guitar dropout of the early 2000s. It was like no one playing guitar solos. There were no rock stars. It was like a really different world. So I think it's really cool to see that stuff becoming more popular. You know, maybe we'll get back to those heydays of the 80s when new heavy bands were headlining stadiums every single night. You know, shout out to Seth Meyers too, because incorporating Craig as like a guest drummer to plug a new album coming out is like got to be one of the more creative, musical, organic ways to do it. I'm like all about it. It's so much better than just having him sit in for an interview and, you know, hold the album up. Like, this is the proper way to do it. Super
it's much
stoked
less
to see
forced. Yeah,
I like his tweet about it. He's like screaming, crying, puking, BRB. He's like really so stoked for Craig. That's a great opportunity for him and his band.
fantastic. And then Stay Puft, when you saw the announcement and just kind of seeing everything that's going on right now with the crossover, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands that I've interviewed over the past like year or so have said that they definitely feel a groundswell that heavy music is kind of blowing up in the balloon a little bit and gonna kind of burst onto the scene, and they feel like there's a real energy and a real want for, like DK said, heavy guitars, heavy music, and an outlet to get all of these emotions that we've been feeling over the last few years out in like a healthy outlet. So, you know, seeing 14-year-old kids on TikTok discover Ghost and Metallica and shit like that, right? I mean, that was about the age that I discovered Metallica. And like, if someone was trying to tell me, no, don't listen to Metallica because you haven't, you haven't been listening to them as long as they've been around. It's like, well, like, music is for everyone. It really is. And I'm just like, I'm such a big Ozzy fan. To see him like close the Commonwealth Games over in the UK and then have that platform on an opening NFL game to play a halftime show, I think is really great. And especially for the kind of resurgence at the end of his career has come back.
Yeah.
DK mentioned his song with Post Malone. I fucking love it. And I also love the song that Post Malone was on Ozzy's album 20. So I think it's nothing but good things for we see these legacy backs, Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne coming out onto the mainstream again, and I hope that kind of paves the way for your Gojiras and your Triviums and your Mastodons and the ones that are right below them to kind of take that mantle. Because here in like 5-10 years, as sad as it is to say, we may not be having those legacy bands to be at the top anymore. And who is going to come and fill that vacuum? I don't know, but I know that there are plenty of deserving bands that would rock the faces off anybody in this country and in the world, to be honest.
So well put. And Tori, chime in.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point of like who's going to be the next legacy. You got my wheels churning. But
yeah,
to think about like the topic of rock music and heavy music coming back into the mainstream, I also think some credit is due to some of the bands that are starting, or some of the artists that are starting to incorporate rock elements into their pop music. Because I think like some of these fearless leaders are making it known to these late night hosts or major players in the media that yes, you can have rock music on your platform and it will succeed, not only with these pop artists, but let's branch out. Like look at Turnstile. Like they broke so many boundaries. And like they made it possible for like hardcore to be a part of these late night shows. And I was even just looking at Demi Lovato. I think she's a great recent example, has Nita Strauss on tour with her right now. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of these artists that are just incorporating rock into pop and fearlessly saying, hey, I could do whatever I want and I'm still going to succeed. And Olivia Rodrigo, there's just so many countless examples that are happening right now where those worlds are colliding. So my hope is not only will this give a platform for some of the rock artists in the scene that we love so much, but maybe it'll let pop and rock just coexist together in a way that didn't before. Because yeah, gatekeeping is a thing, and I would like to see all of those walls just shattered.
I think it's getting to a point where everyone's so opinionated about so many different things, whether politics, religion, just everything across the board, that it got to that point where we felt the same way about music. I don't mean we in general, but just people. A lot of people feel that way about music now. It's like, hey, if you don't like this genre or this or that, I'm done with you. I'm done with listening to this band. I won't tune into your show. And it's ridiculous. And we all kind of, I think, have to get past that, because I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm to the point where I like what I like. I'm going to thrive off of that. And I feel like we're all kind of in that same mindset. I know we've spoken about it in the past on conversations. So I really hope we get to the point where we see more of these big bands bringing on these smaller ones on tour, whether they are pop artists or if it's a pop artist like with like Demi bringing on someone else who's in the rock and roll world or metal world. And we're seeing more of it. Hopefully it continues to go that trajectory. My fingers are crossed, because if I got to go out and see two genres I love in the same venue, like that's amazing. And it's barely ever happened. So I hope it opens the door for a lot more opportunities, because that would just be a little personal thing I'd like to see as well. But speaking of personal things, we're actually going to get into new tracks of the week, or just songs that we are absolutely loving right now. So Stay Puft, let's begin with you.
It's no surprise that I'm a massive Unto Others fan. So talk about to anybody who will listen, right? They're the best band going right now, in my opinion. Them. I fucking love that band.
So
they get into that. They just make me feel like a kid again. Like I could take on the world listening to heavy metal and shit like that. Yes. So that band who was produced by Arthur Rizek, Power Trip fame, and a lot of other amazing bands. Arthur Rizek has produced another album coming from a band called Sonia, from guitarist Melissa Moore, who used to be in a band called Absu before she was kicked out for coming out as a transgender woman. And the album coming out on Friday, actually, September 9th or 20th. I don't remember what it is. It's coming out very soon in September. Their song Nylon Nights is just an absolute like glam gothic power rock song that is so electric. You could see like the smoke and the fireworks when it's playing, amazing vocals on it. great guitar work on it. It's just like one of those songs that kind of harkens back to the 80s while putting a nice modern sheen on it. And I just have not been able to stop playing it. So Sonia Nylon Nights from their new album, Louder Arriver, is my pick of this week.
Okay, Tori, what's your pick?
Yeah, so mine's not necessarily a new release, but it's one that I saved for the fall time. It's like the perfect fall and winter soundtrack.
Okay,
It's
you got me.
Crimson Stone from the Converge and Chelsea Wolfe Blood Moon album. I very purposefully did not listen to it during the summer because I want it to be associated with pumpkin spice season, because that's like the album is just so perfect for when the dark comes a little earlier and the air gets a little crisp. And I mean, Chelsea Wolfe is just the queen of darkness. So Crimson Stone in particular is the song that I think is just the unsung hero of the album. And it's just so underrated, so underappreciated. And any moment that I can tell everyone to listen to this goddamn song, I will take it. So that's definitely my pick. It's just so layered and intense and heavy, but it's also so poetic. I could go on for days. Give it a listen if you haven't yet.
That whole record's so dark and ethereal, and I can completely see the crossover between weather. Some people might be hearing us thinking we're nuts, but like it's a vibe. It really is.
Yeah, no, I'm picking up what you're throwing down, Tori. Scorpion Sting on that record as well, because Chelsea Wolfe doesn't have a couple, like she's like in the background for a couple of songs, and then that song comes out and she's right on the forefront of everything, and it's like this old like haunted jazz club in New York or something. You can see the ghosts like going around her on the stage or something. It's so good.
That's awesome.
You get me. I mean, I'm the person who I associate music with times of the year, and I think this is just the perfect album for September onwards to maybe like January, February. So yeah.
Fantastic. And Decay, what would your pick be?
Hell yeah. Well, you know me, I got a few. Dropped another single. They got a new record coming. Single's called Come to Me. They just came out to our show. We were in London last week, and Tony Dolan came out to the show. He's like, "Have you listened to our new single?" I'm like, "I haven't, dude." He's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you? Listen to the new single." So I checked it out. It's fucking awesome. It's super raw. Like the production sounds old school as fuck. It's like black and roll. The vibe is there. Tony sounds incredible. Mantis is riffing as he does. So stoked on the new Venom Inc. Revocation. Recrucified. This is like the last single we're getting before the record drops on Friday. Features Trevor from Black Dahlia, rest in peace, and Corpse Grinder on the song. It's literally like become in the last couple of years one of my favorite guitar bands. Like the Dave Davidson riffs are insane in this band. Super stoked. They're playing Toronto on Sunday. I'm gonna go to that. New Revocation, fuck yeah. And Razor. First album in 25 years. 2 songs have dropped already. The newest one's called A Bitter Pill. Both songs are killer. The band is playing so fast, so tight. If the whole album is the same tempo as those 2 singles, it's going to be like one of the fastest Razor albums we've ever heard. It's crazy how thrashy it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's like a legacy band. They're like no signs of slowing down. They're like, oh, by the way, 25 years, we're not skipping a beat. It's perfect.
That's impressive.
Awesome.
For me lately, I've been diving into Miss May I a lot. They dropped a new record recently called Curse of Existence, and it just starts off with a track that I've actually covered on the show before, but it's A Smile That Doesn't Exist, and it's just blistering. It begins with this crazy gnarly growl, and then bam, like just violent double bass pedal, the most intense breakdowns that are just happening throughout the song, mind you, not just like that middle 8 you always look for. So that caught me by surprise right out of the gate, and every other song off of it is just like this beautiful little earworm. So that's what I've been diving into full on, and I can't wait to listen to even more that it has to offer. But this is the next part I'm stoked for, because I love talking tours. I know we all love going out there and going to different shows. So we're going to talk about the tour or festival we are most excited for. So Decay, let's begin with you.
Hardest secret to keep for the last 6 months. Merciful Fate creator and fucking hype. And this is like one that I've just been waiting to be announced. I'm so fucking hyped on it. It's the first North American Merciful Fate tour in over 20 years.
That's huge.
is massive, and I mean they're doing it with the right bands too, and the tour poster is so
It's so
sick.
good. It's so good.
So fucking badass. They know exactly what people want. They've absolutely killed it with having, you know, Teutonic Thrash King's creator there and Cleveland's greasiest Midnight. Super stoked on that bill. They're bringing that full Euro stage with the white marble altar. We just had the pleasure of seeing that at Psycho Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Caught up with the King after the show, and he was like showing me the tour dates for this tour, and I was like already planning my routing on which.
You looked so happy during that interview that anytime I keep seeing it pop up in your socials or NOFX, I just felt so happy for you because I can tell you were radiating.
I got the splash of serotonin just from like the videos.
Yes, I loved
Same.
it.
That because it was not the easiest one. Like full, you know, pull the veil back a little. We get to Psycho, and I was in Vegas for 5 days, which is just mentally, physically exhausting, like a soul-sucking city. I don't go there unless I'm going to Psycho, honestly. And I, you know, meet up with the team, and I confirm the interview with King, and they're like, yeah, so it'll be after the show on after they play. And like Merciful Fate is the last band on the last day playing at like midnight, and I'm doing the interview after that. So like by the time it came interview time, I was just standing there just like smashing Red Bull water, like just my eyes could barely keep them open. My voice was gone. It was like the end of an insane 5 days of having my soul sucked out in Las Vegas.
But don't you find that you thrive off those? Right, but you thrive off those moments the most. I mean, we've all kind of been in that position where you have that late interview come through, you've got to stay until after the show, and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And then it happens, and you go from 0 to 100, and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever done.
Yep.
It was really magical. And like, you know what? I'm happy it worked out that way, because to get to talk to King after seeing the performance, it's because, you know, I got it on another level at that point. It was, you know, we could talk about the ritual that we just experienced. So super stoked on that tour. There's a NOTFest premium members pre-sale that's on today.
Yes.
Everyone else can buy tickets tomorrow. It's crazy that it's getting announced just a couple weeks before it starts too. Like that's and there's no time to even think about it. Announcement, get your tickets, go to the show. It's coming up real fast. I'm super stoked for everyone out to see that.
The beauty of that rollout too is they know that people have been waiting for so long. So it's like, why wouldn't you drop it a month before? It just makes it seem even more premium, even hotter, and it's going to sell out. So you got to get your tickets stat. So head over to notfest.com for that, everybody. Tori, show that you're really psyched about. What would it be?
Oh yeah. So this was I was so hyped on this announcement, y'all. Ginger announced a headlining tour for November with POD, Vended, Space of Variations, and Malevolence. I mean,
strong.
Crazy lineup.
Yeah, that's going to be a tour.
Yeah.
It is a tour, folks. And I think also worth noting is that a portion of the ticket sales are going to be going to Ukrainian charities. So this is not the one to ask for guest list. Buy your damn ticket. You know, it matters. No one tried to get a freebie. That aside, I'm just such a fan of Ginger, and I went and saw them last November, and it's still stuck in my mind as one of the best live shows I've been to. So I'm hoping I could catch it again. It's gonna be sick.
Hell yeah. And Stay Puff, what's your choice?
So I could piggyback off the Merciful Fate creator midnight tour, because like, what the fuck, but I think DK did that tour all of its justice. So I'm just going to say I'm also very stoked for that. I'm going to be traveling down to Atlanta to see it when it comes through. But I will say, because I just booked my tickets, the Zealand Order Sylvain Imperial Triumphant Tour that's going through the US in very soon. I'm going to be hitting up the Denver show on the 1st of October. And I'm just so excited. I've seen Zealand Ardor twice opening for bigger bands. Once it was Opeth and Macedon, then the other one was Meshuggah. And you could watch the crowd become fans of this band as it went on, because it was very obvious that, you know, people were there to see the headliners and not Zealand Ardor, and that they didn't even know what was going on. But as soon as everything started, there was some like air of confusion around in the venue. And then as the set goes on, people are banging their heads, screaming along, moshing, all of that stuff. So I'm stoked to see them do a headlining set. because it means that they'll play like most of everything in their discography, because you can kill their discography in like 2 hours, 2.5 hours barely. And then Sylvain is just an absolute wonderful artist. She's only done one North American tour so far, so stoked to see her. And then of course I'm gonna have my mind blown for Imperial Triumphant. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. Now, so many of these shows are in person. That's usually what I'm all about. But my pick for the week, it has to go to Tenacious D. They're doing a live stream on September 11th as a part of Rock the Vote. I'm obsessed with this band, from the movie to the music to everything in between, the comedy. And they always just have something that keeps the audience on their toes. You know, word for word, the song. The beauty about a band like that is they keep you so enticed, because I can literally imagine every single part of that film as I watch them on stage. And it just adds this weird nostalgia for me and this happiness. So I can't wait to tune in for that. I fly back home that day. As soon as I get in, I'm tuning into that live stream. I cannot wait just for fun. Music's supposed to be fun, and I can't wait for that. So Tenacious D, you're my pick.
One of the best concerts I ever saw, and like full stop, I've seen way too many concerts, festivals and bucket list bands and front row, backstage, back of the room, like everything, all things considered. Tenacious D at Echo Beach in Toronto like a decade ago was like one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Like, so much fucking fun.
I want to see them in person so badly. It just hasn't worked out, but the theatrics of it all, I can't I can just taste it. Taste the jams.
I saw them here in Nashville a couple years ago. I guess it was right before the pandemic. And you know how every band does like the drum solo or the guitar solo or whatever.
Yeah,
they stopped and did a light solo from the crew guy or whatever. So it was everyone was quiet and all the lights were just going like crazy for a while. And Jack Black was like, light solo. And it was like amazing. When do you ever see that? It was so good.
Nah, I mean, I think the closest to that I've seen like the hair solos that they used to do in Still Panther when they had Lexi at the time. But other than that, like light solo is pretty creative. So well done, D. Well done.
Dude, those stories are so great. I'm living vicariously through you both. That's awesome.
I would like sell a limb to be able to go back and see like the full scale production Pick of Destiny tour where they did the whole album with all the extra that changes. Like, I would have killed to see that rock opera live. They basically still do like a big chunk of it now on the set, but like that tour right when the movie was happening, my God, I would do anything to go back and see
that. I think
that's
they
like,
should just hit Broadway for all of us.
Like 80, 86.
Yes.
That's like a bucket list thing.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully one day we can maybe all see the D together. You never know. But as of now, that's it for today's show, everyone. So I want to say thank you so much for watching NOFX Heavy Conversations. On behalf of our amazing NOFX hosts, Stay Puft Mellow, Daniel Decay, and Tori Kravitz, I've been Alicia Toot, and we will absolutely see you next week. Bye, everybody.